When I dig deeper, it turns out that they are deathly afraid of rejection. They're afraid of the no. If I price it too high, they're going to say no. That's where the confidence starts coming in. Like, why do you think that price is too high? Right? And when you start unpacking it, they really don't have a strong answer. And so when I say pricing is about confidence, it is about confidence in your product, in yourself, in your ability to deliver, and that you're selling to the right customer.
You know, the toughest thing about business is pricing. Am I too cheap? Am I charging too much? Like, it's such a difficult thing. Well, you're in good luck because we're bringing on Marcos Rivera. He's the CEO of Pricing.io, and he's really hardwired the playbook to get the right pricing. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about the timeless truth. We're going to talk about self-worth, self-value, and how to kill it in your business to bring the profits home once you get right in your pricing. All next on Mind the Machine.
This episode is sponsored by the Applied AI Association. Find out more at aaiaglobal.com/MTM and use code MTM for 20% off your membership.
Hey, so today is a special day in Mind the Machine because we are live in the studio. Well, we're not really live. I mean, we are alive, but we are live with Marcos Rivera. This guy has written this book called Street Pricing, and he is the CEO of Pricing.io. And the word on the street with street pricing, and the word on the street with you and your company is ultimately stop guessing, start growing. Unpack that for us, Marcos.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. It is fun to be here, and thank you for having me live in the flesh, breathing the same oxygen. It is so refreshing. So look, the quick here is just that there are a lot of companies out there who try to price their stuff, services, software, whatever that may be, and they really struggle with it. They're not sure what number to pick. So they end up kind of just guessing at it and figuring out, okay, I think people will buy it at that, so we'll just go there. But in doing that, they're really giving up a lot of pricing power. They're giving up a lot of growth, a lot of opportunity to really just earn what they're worth.
Right.
And so what I wanted to do as part of, my professional firm, as part of my book, was really just to say, hey, it doesn't have to be so scary. Let's demystify this a little bit. Let's remove that black box and make it so that way you can price your products with confidence,
right,
and get what you earn.
Okay, so when we talked yesterday, we just went all over the map. Bottom line is you're trying to get people to the revenue that they deserve, the profit they deserve, right? Like, it's know your value, right? This is so fundamental of knowing your value, but we kind of got a little woo-woo yesterday when I was talking about, does this have to do with people who don't know their own inherent value? Like their own worth, so they guess, because like, I think I saw Bob's doing this. I don't really know, but I don't want to be cheap. I just need a customer. I just got to pay my bills. That's not the mindset here at all, right? Like
it's a mindset that limits you. Okay. And so one of the big things that I worry about when I work with the founder, I work with some business leader, and they're thinking about, all right, I think I can let me just charge the lowest price I can possibly charge so I can get business going. And when I dig deeper, it turns out that they are deathly afraid of rejection. They're afraid of the no, right? If I price it too high, they're going to say no. If I price it too high in a service, they're going to leave. And that's where the confidence starts coming in. Like, why do you think that price is too high? Right? And when you start unpacking it, they really don't have a strong answer. And so when I say pricing is about confidence, it is about confidence in your product, in yourself, in your ability to deliver, and that you're selling to the right customer.
Right.
Right.
So you've done your homework.
So you've done your homework. You know what? You're solving the problem dead on. You're not delusional because you have real proof.
Right.
And you're able to capture your fair share of the value you give.
Right. That's so huge. And I would say that ultimately this is not about quality per se. I mean, we're assuming table stakes. We're assuming you got a quality product, that you're solving a real problem. Like, you've covered the biz part of it. But when it comes to that emotional part, is like, yeah, you don't want to know. You don't want the rejection. Well, what if they say no? Well, guess what? They probably will. And then there's like 9,000 other people that have the opportunity to respond differently, right? I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Welcome to business.
Yeah,
Welcome to business, right? So you will hear no. Now, the key here is you have to understand the no. And there's a little bit of a trick that I walk people through when we work together with them is, when does the no come in? Does it come in right when you open your mouth and talk about your product? You may not have a pricing problem. You may have a framing or positioning problem, right? Which is a little bit different.
Okay.
Does the no come in maybe towards the end where you're like, they love it, they want to go, you give them the price and they're like, oh crap, wait, no, that's not going to work for me. Sorry. Now you have to unpack that piece, right? And see, is there alignment with what I'm charging and how I'm framing this thing? So for me, when the no comes in is critical to understanding if you have a pricing problem.
I love this. Okay, so you got to tell me the journey. How did you get from, get to rather, coming to pricing IO? It's so narrow. Then this is actually what I really love about it is that it is so narrow, but it's so important. No business has pricing unless you're giving away stuff. That's a whole nother story. But net is like it's so important, but it's just a sliver, the last mile of the business. How'd you come up with this, and why you're so passionate about it? What's the story behind the CEO of Pricing IO?
Well, look, it wasn't on purpose. All right, I'm just a skinny kid from the Bronx that figured out how do you get people to charge the right amount in terms to capture what they're worth, right? And that was something that started in my career. I love math, love psychology, love all these things. So pricing kind of has all those elements in there. So it feels like a happy place for me when I'm thinking about how do you figure out the price. And so I'm just wired that way. But thinking about how I got here, I've been in tech most of my career. I've grown products, services, businesses. I've done M&A. I've worked at a private equity firm, one of the biggest in the world. And one thing I've noticed is that the pricing is something that comes in as an afterthought with a lot of these companies. And the ones that paid a lot of good attention to it were able to just capture so much of that growth, either so much faster or so much more efficiently. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I think a lot of business leaders, business owners are holding themselves back by not paying the right amount of attention to pricing, to monetizing, things like that. And as a business leader, you have enough problems to deal with. There's already so many things that you have to work on, from operations to marketing to sales and all these things. But if you layer on pricing on top of all that, it can compound issues. And it could lead to some businesses maybe having to close their doors.
They just don't have enough margin. They're just not covering.
You hit it on the head. You're not covering your expenses in the business. So there's business mechanics that really rely on pricing. And so it is the ultimate expression of your business strategy. So it should not be left to afterthought. So fast forward, after learning all these skills in growing companies and in growing services and businesses and so on, I decided that it is too important not to understand. But the way things are structured today, I went to MBA school, I read a ton of books. Pricing is kind of framed as this boring topic. Like
it really is. It's like
sleep.
Super unsexy. So I remember when I first saw Pricing IO, I can't remember if I was driving by and I saw something in La Jolla. I believe you guys had office there, and and I remember looking at it thinking, I wonder what these guys are about, which is kind of a dumb question because obviously you're about pricing. Hello.
See the name.
But like, what does that look like? Like, what you're gonna coach me through it? Like you're gonna prep me to get to the right price? Like, there's got to be so much behind. I love what you said. The ultimate expression of your business is your pricing. Man, that's so powerful.
We work with companies who really want to win. They want to grow, but they just don't know how, and they can't pull the pieces together. And so first off, I said, let's make this not so scary. Let's make it so real humans like me and you can actually approach this stuff. Nobody wants to hear about, Pearson correlations and all these different frameworks and all this crazy sciencey stuff. Some people do, but most of us
we don't party with those guys though. We don't hang out with those guys. No, just
so those guys are staying there with on the corner with their drink.
They're in the nerdery with their calculators.
So I said, you know what? How do we make this so that way real people understand what we're doing? Let's help them get the data, understand you don't need to run through and spend $100,000 or spend, a ton of months on end trying to figure this out. There are tactics you can use. And for me, it's how do you learn forward and get better at it versus figure out the magic number. Like, let me dispel a big myth for everybody. There is no magic number.
There is no magic.
There is no magic number.
Yeah.
Okay? If someone asks me, hey, Marcos, what are you willing to spend on a slice of pizza? I don't calculate in my head the supply and demand curves of freaking pizza out there and what I'm going to want. No. For me, there's very human ways people think about pricing, and it's actually less scientific than you think.
Oh, really?
And that goes for businesses and just individuals alike.
Okay.
And so once I reveal some of these psychology things, and then I reveal how to talk to customers and prospects and folks about the value they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do those two things, it starts to, like, some of the areas start to click and you start thinking, so this is how I figure out what to charge. It's not some formula in a spreadsheet. Okay. Yeah, you should understand your costs and all those kind of things. That's fundamentals in business. But when it comes to figuring out the price, it's actually more understanding what feels right to the customer, what is right for your business economics and your mechanics, what signals are you selling, and you have to make it comfortable to pay. There's a whole psychology I'm not going to get into today called the pain of paying. Like we physically feel pain when we pay. That's why credit cards are so darn successful, is because it sort of defers that pain of paying.
It's not real. You're not physically handing the green.
Exactly. And there is something like, I earned that and now I have to give it to you in hopes that I get something back, and ouch. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of psychology behind pricing. I think once you reveal some of that, people start to maybe relax a little bit about it, understand it, embrace it, and then that starts the journey to better pricing.
No, this is phenomenal. I love it. Okay, so you said the word human, and Mind the Machine is a show about really the psychology of how we're thinking about living in this ultimately mechanized world, right? And so we tend to talk a lot about AI, job loss, all of the things that are trending in this topic, and so forth. And so there's a couple of questions I have for you. How do you think about AI in this world, and how does it influence and impact your business today?
So I am a big fan of AI. What I'm not a fan of is AI hysteria. Okay. So I think artificial intelligence has come a long way in the last even 2 to 3 years. And the ability to process information and to serve up ideas is so much better than it was, 3 years ago, even more. The way I look at AI, though, it is not the replacement. It should not be used as a crutch. I think it's an enhancer, an enabler, and it helps you get stuff done faster and better. Now, there are some really big talks out there about, no, AI is going to be this is the new era, the new wave, the new normal is kind of what I've been hearing a lot about, which is fine.
Right.
You gotta recognize when smartphones came in, when the cloud came in, things do change.
Right.
You don't want to, do long division with pen and paper when you have a calculator right next to you, right? So yes, you do want to embrace it, adopt it, and it will change business models fundamentally. But I do think that AI is still a tool to serve us, not us to serve it.
Right.
And so for me, when I work with folks about AI and adopting, I've adopted AI. Look, I'll be honest with you. I use AI to crunch a lot of data that we're working through that we used to do manually or we used to do with some code. Now AI does that, and it does it faster.
Yeah.
And it actually helps us understand where some gaps are, whereas before we were doing that manually. And so it's really helped streamline a lot of the things that I'm doing. But AI in and of itself, again, it doesn't really add a lot of value, because if you don't give it any context, it can't help you.
No, it can't. And I think that's a very eloquent, articulate way to surmise what the state of the nation of all things AI. I think when I look at what I do in my company, FindGood.tech, is what we're really looking at the cost benefit analysis, right? So getting back to those numbers is like, okay, death by 1,000 subscription. You got, this huge amount of tech debt that's accumulating because you don't realize half your team is like, they got Grok going, they got Perplexity going, they got the Gammas going, it's all going. And it's like, at some point, unless someone's really watching from a narrative arc perspective, not just silos of marketing, not just silos of finance, whatever, the back end operations. I guess the reason why I say that is your pricing kind of reminds me of the same thing. It is that last mile or perceived last mile. But if you get that wrong, then if your ultimate destination of a successful business, the premise is, well, broken, right? And I feel like AI is kind of the same thing. It's like, listen, if you got garbage process and garbage products and garbage pricing and you're going to get there faster, guess what? That means you get to the trash can faster, right? And like,
No AI, no price is gonna save a bad product. I'll say that, right? Or a bad idea.
exactly. I mean, that should totally be the headline of the show. AI and bad pricing is not going to save your company. So dispense with the garbage, man.
Dispense with the garbage. Listen, many cases there's something in the root that you have to stand up, you put your big boy pants on and face, right? And I think the point here is that, if you know that in your root that your service is not living up to the potential or the hype, or that you're not really selling to the right customer, you're just kind of going after the next green dollar. Deep down, even if you won't say it out loud, that there's a misalignment somewhere, that something is not clicking, and you have to face it and you have to fix it. And if you don't, you're not going to be able to break through.
Right.
All the marketing in the world, all the lipstick and eyeshadow and all the AI and everything you can do, you may have a temporary, lift, but it's not going to be enduring.
Yeah. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so tell me how did you get to where pricing is today? Who do you serve? Who's your ideal customer profile? And maybe you can walk me through like a use case of what it means when someone ties up with you, Marcus.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we started off as just me, all by myself, right?
Solopreneur in the house.
Solopreneur, just me, right? And it was right. I left the firm at a big private equity firm, Vista Equity Partners, pretty big firm out there. Left to start on my own. And the reason why I left was because my family was growing. I didn't want to be on a plane 90% of the time.
Right.
So I needed to capture my time. So let me go out there and let me help companies with this problem, this pervasive problem that I've been seeing all around, and have some unique insights into. So started all by myself, same bootstrap story, right?
Mm-hmm.
My own credit cards, my own bank accounts, just starting just with me. We're about 25 people now. And we grew through COVID, which was a big freak out moment when all of a sudden the world shut down, and I'm starting this new company here. But you put one foot in front of the other, you keep going, you deliver, and you do good work, and you just you make it out the other end, right? So here we are, and we're a boutique firm. We work with a very hyper focused segment of business owners. We work with SaaS technology companies. Like software, things like that.
Yeah, so software as a service. So, examples, Salesforce or any platform where they're anticipating the needs digitally in a hub-based environment. Software as a service.
Exactly. Software as a service, e-commerce, all those key things, right? There's some technology going on back there. And the reason why we focus on that one and not every single business out there is because there's a special problem with technology. It changes so dang much. And it's hard to capture the value of something that is constantly changing, right? The environment around. So it makes the problem particularly hard, but also very impactful when you figure it out. And so we've seen 40% revenue double, really, really dramatic changes in this space. So that's why I only focus in the technology world. And when we work with clients, we work with those that are just really struggling to put it all together. And we're going to help them. Let's get the right context. Let's collaborate. And here's the trick, because one of the biggest things that frustrated me was when I hired a consultant to come in, they would not share everything with me. They'll show me this beautiful presentation. They wouldn't give me the raw info, and they wouldn't really help me learn and get better. And that just stuck at me, right?
They're not helping you grow.
They're not helping me grow. They're not enabling me. What I like to do with every client we work with and our team is to upskill you and make you better, so that way you can learn how to price yourself.
You're teaching a man how to fish.
Teaching the man how to fish while throwing a net and catching fish so they can eat right there, but also teaching them those skills long term. Oceans will change, fish will change. They'll go out there. I can go on with this analogy all day, right? But the point here, is that I think that the business is in the best position for their pricing. Right? They know their customers better. I'm not going to pretend I know their products better than them. To teach them, give them the tools, show them how to do it, and they will thrive. That thriving will build trust, and that trust is where we get a lot of referral business. We're mostly referral.
Wow. And I love this because this is coming right back to the timeless truths. I like to say this a lot. The timeless truths is we like to think that business, everything, there's new AI, there's new whatever, and it's everything's changed. It's not. You've got to trust people, right? And if trust is rusted, Just kind of made that up. Didn't really rhyme. Trust rust. There's some rust in the trust. You know, that's not going to be very good, right? So you're ultimately getting to this like that. It seems like you're just connecting deeply. You're not a transaction.
You hit the nail on the head. And just to pull in AI for a second, because you mentioned it, I saw a study that said if you label your product with AI, like all over your webpage, it actually did not increase willingness to pay. It actually kept it pretty flat or even went down in some cases.
Ooh, interesting.
And the reason why is because honeymoon phase is coming to an end with AI. Real businesses who want to pay real money need to see real results from it.
Right.
None of these rap battles and, disco balls with pigeons and all that stuff they're doing. The point is,
While fun. And entertaining.
it's got to be
Show me the money.
You got to show me the money. And that's another timeless truth, right?
Right.
You got to show me the money. And so in the end, if you're able to really provide a real business outcome, then your AI stands a chance. But here's the problem. AI is more accessible now than it was a few years ago, right? Anybody can grab it. Anybody can call the API and start doing things.
Yeah.
So now you have to not just do it, but do it better and faster. And now they have to iterate and improve over time faster. So it is creating a very different competitive dynamic.
Yeah, it's getting real. It's getting real. And so we hear a little bit about, okay, are we in an AI tech bubble? And having survived and thrived the .com tech bubble, like we know what this looks like. We know, it kind of smacks of that same thing. I do believe, and I'd be curious of your thoughts, is, the focus is so much on generative AI and really kind of that last mile of marketing, less of that infrastructure, operational efficiency back end. And I think that's the unsexy stuff that people really don't want to think about. They want the pigeon. They want the disco ball. They want this sexy stuff. Never thought I'd actually put pigeon in a disco ball and use the word sexy. I don't know. We're reaching new heights together, Marcos.
It's a true story. It is a true story. To just double down on that for a quick second here. So there is an explosion of what they're calling AI agents, right? And it's basically just AI who can do stuff for you, right? They can grab data, they can call something, they can just do something. It's not just give you information. And these are really exploding, especially this year, because what we're finding is that if you're able to take a few steps, like tangible steps out of someone's process and let the AI do it reliably, that is in your face value, right? Let's just call it that, in your face value.
In your face value.
And so that's what you need. And so these agents, and now you have agents, and now you have agent builders that go out there and build agents for you. And what they're finding is that, going back to the trust comment, is that if your agent can't perform right away, you're going to have to dig out of a very deep hole. And so for an agent to succeed, it's got to build trust. And this is good. I'm tying it back to pricing in a second here.
No, that's good.
If you have an AI agent out there, because you're trying to do the unsexy stuff that adds real value, which in many businesses they do, and you're finding that you're running into trust issues, you have to build your pricing such that the client doesn't pay the majority of that fee until they start seeing the value. If they start paying a ton up front before they see anything, that's a very steep hill to climb.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm finding a lot of companies are doing, they're doing, just to get nerdy for a second, things like 3-part tariffs. And 3-part tariffs is a 3-part model that says you pay this fee, not crazy. I'm going to include this many agentic AI actions, whatever it is, resolving a call or booking an appointment or whatever that thing is. And then after they consume that total, then they start to pay more. And so it's not until they finish and they're like, I've tasted this, I liked it, I've consumed it, now let's graduate to the next level. They're a little more willing to give you money now versus in the beginning when you're installing it or you're training it, you're getting ready.
Yeah.
Not all that, they're like still wondering like, okay, is this thing going to pan out? Right. So you just got to be very careful how you structure.
I love that. And we definitely, we'll dig into that too, because I think that this is really where the rubber hits the road. And I use an example, maybe like Zapier. Or Zapier, depending on how, I don't know, your app. So to me, it's Zapier. They're zapping. I don't think you're zaping. But anyway, we'll talk to the brand people later over there. But I mean, but then you think about what is it? N8N, right? And it's like all of those integrations for agents cost something.
Yeah.
So if you're doing 1,000 transactions a day, to me, that's a great example of tech debt and really tech debt rather is like really interesting. Great, you got an agent. Like, I don't think people really understand the core business model of token. Like the token, you are paying for tokens, you're paying for compute power, and we're not paying that real price today. I mean, not to nerd out like on that, because it definitely like, half my audience is like, oh, I gotta go, bye. But but the net is like these are the true costs, and I imagine that you probably come across this quite often when people are all hyped up on the AI, trying to figure out like, oh, I want to plug all this stuff in. It's like, well, what's the true cost benefit analysis? What are you really paying?
It is. It's easy to overlook because you just want the thing you want at the end of the day, right? But the truth is what you said. There are tokens out there. There's some machine processing something somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it ain't cheap. It's not free. It ain't free.
It ain't cheap because it's going through a lot of logic and it's crunching a lot. Like think about your computer and like just if you have too many tabs open, it starts to slow down, right? It starts to cough, right? So just take that and just multiply it by a million, and that's kind of what you're seeing out there, right? So the truth of the matter is that there is a layer cake happening, right? With you have the sort of core like model providers, and then you have all these applications built on top of it and all this integrations and all that stuff. And then on the bottom, it's the stuff that people forget about, like electricity.
Imagine that.
You need electricity to process the machines, to process the data, right? And so there's a huge layer cake. And the cost structure and dynamics are so different now than they were with SaaS in the cloud, right? And so I think you do have to make sure you don't lose your shirt. Companies like even ChatGPT, OpenAI, they talked about we're going to spend $115 billion next year. On what? Like that's a lot, right? You can pay engineers so much, but I mean, it's on that burning of all that processing and speed. Right. 115 billion. I couldn't even fathom what that even looks like.
Yeah, and that's amazing, and kind of makes me think about things like small models. Not like I want to go like nerd out on that because we didn't, it wasn't like, hey, Marcos and small models, but it's like, I think about technology. There's a lot of bloat, even back in the days when I was working on a Linux distribution, and it's like really calling out Microsoft, love you guys, on, ultimately is like, do you need as many lines of codes in there to achieve the outcome? And so I think there's some inflation of, overinflation of what you really need to achieve agentic AI or to achieve generative AI. It can be lean and mean, right?
It can be. And now you're talking about lines of code in Linux. Like, I love it when you talk nerdy to me, okay? Like, that is super nerdy. But the bloat is, I think, natural human phenomena, right? You start to, you have all these hyperboles and folks thinking like, whoa, what could it be? And really extrapolating pretty damn far versus the reality of like, oh, actually, I just need to do, 1, 2, 3, and I can get a basic agent going here. So for me, I think there is a bit of you're right, inflation and hype around. There was the Anthropic CEO said, hey, you know what? White collar jobs gone in 6 months, right? Or 90% gone or whatever it is. I talked about coding jobs, specifically, right, about a program. 90% of code will be written by AI is the exact quote. It is now 6 months later, and it's probably closer to like 15, right? So like, no, it's not 90, right? But, over time, it'll get up. That number will go higher. But you're right. I think folks get excited about it and start,
They're hyping. They're hyping. And it's, I forget what this solo wax, I think I actually write about it in the book, is this paradox is that despite the utility in the gains that you're going to get, it is going to take time for this infrastructure and how we work and change management to seep in. And so when I just think that, there's still a lot of hair on this, you know what I mean? Like we still got a lot. This is the reason why I do the show, because I want to talk through with smart people like you is like, there's a lot of ways to be really successful with businesses. What are you doing? What problem are you solving? What fruit are you bringing to someone that they can consume? Trees don't eat their own fruit. What are you bringing, right, to the world? What gift? And what are you going to charge? And I love that charging back to that pricing discussion is it's rooted in people like not really knowing. And so they got to know.
They got to know. And in the end, it's still humans exchanging with other humans. But to take that a step further here, right, there's a natural need for folks to want to help each other, right? It's the old tribal piece that comes in. And there's a natural need for folks to want to grow and do more.
Right.
Those don't change.
Yeah.
And that's one of the underlying premises of all business. With AI here in the picture, similar to where smartphones came in, I remember my beeper pager all the way to the smartphone. Hit me on the hip, right? Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah. LED screen, green and black, right.
143 little codes, right?
Ooh, baby.
But I say this, right? Like that will not go away.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think AI will have to go through those different phases, right? Of people accepting it, embracing it, using it, breaking their assumptions, breaking constraints, and then using more. I think it's going to go through those same cycles. Some say faster than the previous. Okay, I could buy that. Maybe a little bit faster. That's okay. But I'm not stepping into the Jetsons tomorrow.
No.
Right? It's going to take time.
Yeah. It's definitely going to take time in change management, I think, is that natural resistance to change that we have, behavior modification, behavior change. So, man, I'm starting to sound like a psychologist or something. Whoa.
Yes, I'll tell you my deepest thoughts here.
Yes, that's right. We need a little couch so you can just lay down and we can get all those secrets out. But all right. So now there's the future, right? Future forward, the future of pricing IO. What do you think's next for you guys? Who's your dream client / customer? You're growing, you're dominating. Talk about that a little.
So at this stage, we're growing and we're profitable. We're proud of that. And we have a fantastic culture. It's always nice to work with people you like.
Yeah,
okay,
that helps.
And so we keep that vibe. That's important. And clients love us to keep bringing us back, which is really good. From my perspective, I'm not trying to be the next McKinsey or the next Bain or anything like that. I like keeping my company, my arms around it. So I know the name of every hire that comes in. Everybody has they have a contribution, they have a growth path, they deliver good work. There's pride in that. So no aspirations to be like 1,000, 2,000 person consulting firm. We're about 25. Wouldn't mind being closer to 40 or 50 in the future, right? But still, like, I'd rather be that, not an army, but like a really nice elite, Navy SEAL unit. If you think
I like that.
It's a very different vibe.
Yeah.
The other thing too is technology. We're going to continue to embrace it and adopt it. Maybe even spinning off our own application that we're using that if we think it's good enough, it has to pass our bar. If we think it's good enough, we can, give it to folks to say, hey, we can use this to help you demystify pricing and get a lot farther on your own. I think that fits right into our entire ethos. And so more tech, maybe a little bit bigger, but still delivering a lot of value.
All right. San Diego company.
San Diego, where we do have folks outside of San Diego, but the majority of the team is here in town. We bring all our get-togethers here. Everybody comes to San Diego.
Yeah, who would want to come to San Diego?
It's an easy sell. It's an easy sell. That's for sure.
Yeah, all right.
That's it.
So let me ask you this then. What have I not asked you that you would like to talk about that's important for people to know about pricing IO or your general musings on life?
Well, I will share two things because I didn't answer you directly of who's a good client for us and who's a bad one, right? And a little bit of a funny thing that's going to be happening here pretty soon. So we serve companies in that technology space, like I said. Typically, if you're just starting out, you're better off just getting some fundamental advice from us. Get on the phone with us. We'll walk you through. We'll give you the ones and twos and get you going there. Because if you're not even sure what you're selling and who you're selling to, then that's going to be pricing really tough. So we like clients that are at least 5 million in. Usually most of them fall between 10 and 50 million doing an annual revenue. Some are a lot bigger, some are smaller. But that's usually where it is because you got a team, you got some data, you got some conviction on who you are and where you're going. You're growing fast. You probably have an investor who's on your back trying to get you to grow faster. All those key things. We work with a lot of investment firms there. So those make really fantastic clients because we have a lot to chew on and that impact is felt immediately. What doesn't work is when someone comes in here, and they could be big or small, and they have no idea who they are and where they want to go. That makes pricing 10 times harder than it already is, right?
You're like, how about you just guess?
And it's like, I got this idea, but I'm not sure. Yeah, exactly. Just go guess and then come back.
That's the next book. You suck. You go guess. No.
We have a really hard time with, and I'm just being totally transparent and honest, is that if those areas are unclear, we can give you some things to chew on, but ultimately you have to decide who you want to be,
Yeah.
where you drive competitive advantage, what gives you energy and motivates you to serve and continue to do good in the world. And once you decide those things, then we can talk about how do you monetize the right way. But if not, we just end up spinning, and it doesn't really end up being a good outcome. So those are the good and the bad.
Great. Yeah, that's really good. So I got to do a plug. So you're going to be coming to speak at Startup San Diego. Startup San Diego Week is October 6th through the 10th. Yours truly leading all the technology programming. Marcos is going to be there with a couple of other authors. We're doing Authorpreneur, which is really the unpacking what it takes to really launch a book. And there's like 1,000 ways to do that. Good ways and bad ways. And so you'll be out. So if someone wants to see you live and in person, that's going to be October 10th at UCSD, who is our partner at Startup Week. The other thing, too, is that you are, what are your coordinates if someone wants to get a hold of you? Pricing.io is the URL. LinkedIn, how do you like to be approached?
You know what? I spend most of my time talking to folks in LinkedIn. So you go to Marcos Rivera, you'll find me in there. I look the same. Here's the smile, right? You'll find me in there.
Let's see if you can get a picture. Oh, there you go on the back of the book. On the back of the book. And the book is great, by the way. I really love this book. With my early days being at mp3.com, I love music analogy. And I think you did such a clever way. And this book is a couple years old, right? So I'd say there's timeless truths in there. It's not like it's outdated. But I guess I say that is because it's not like you just ginned it up with the AI last night and you're like, hey, check out my book, right? Like this has been around. This is wisdom. We got gold up in these hills right here, right? So
I wrote that book to be timeless. Listen, there are a couple things in here. It's a blueprint. The reason why I did it in a more artistic way is because I wanted to infuse it with the music, infuse it with a little bit of fun, 90s hip hop. When you think about that song, like during prom, like it takes you back, right? Music does a lot for memory and retention. And so that's why I infused it with the music to make it fun, but also to help with retention and memory. But the book, while I do focus on technology folks and SaaS and software, I've gotten lots of kudos from folks who are not software professionals. I had an HR recruiting company. He recruits people, and he's like, Marcos, I read your book and I totally used it to help with my pricing. And I'm like, that's nothing to do with software, but that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Right? And so, it's really good. It gives you ways to approach it, think about it, fundamentals, with or without being a software company.
Yeah, and it's very digestible. A lot of analogies, and of course the music. I mean, that's when I started reading, and I'm like, oh, I've been transported back to the good old days. But net, they can get this on Amazon.com. And all right, well, hey, Marcos, it has been a privilege, pleasure, so much insight from you. You're going to come back. We got to get you back. You're going to be the boomerang on this show because pricing, I think, is one of those things that's elusive. I don't think it's a one fix hit, right? And so you're our guy going forward. So thank you, Marcos, for your time.
Cheryl, this was a blast. Thanks for having me. Love to talk again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
Make sure you're subscribed to Mind the Machine podcast, like the video, and leave a comment letting us know what you thought.